in your new book, which has been translated to Dutch this year, and it's translated as Opgaan en openheid, which is quite well translated, I have to say. It's very well translated overall, the whole entire book. The word openness, you and I talked about it in earlier meetings. Can you say something about why you have chosen that word?
I found in the many dialogues I've had with people through my teaching that the word awakening comes with so many myths, ideas, expectations, and so on. And even though I of course, I still speak about awakening, I wanted this book to get to the essence of awakening. And I found, because the book is actually based on actual live dialogues that I've had, discourses and questions, answers, I found that I was speaking about openness more and more, and that somehow it really touched people. It really spoke to something deep in them that cut through the myths of awakening. Because at the core, essentially, awakening is an openness. It's the discovery of our essential nature as openness. And what I'm been pointing to is that we can recognize this openness over and over again in the midst of our everyday lives. Whereas when we speak of awakening or enlightenment, it's an idea of something that happens in the future.
Yeah.
So that's why I based the book around this this theme or this word.
Yeah. And then again, the myth of awakening, all words have a danger of being taken as truth or taken very literally or very absolute. What is the myth of awakening? How do people interpret that word in a way that you say, well, I've changed to the word openness?
Well, mostly it's something that happens in the future. It's something that happens out of the blue by grace or by the blessing of a teacher, master, guru. It happens when we've done enough spiritual practice. It's a kind of mind-blowing, earth-shattering event that completely changes us and elevates us and takes all pain away, and so on and so on. So it's kind of wrapped up with many ideas, and some of that, kind of inherited from traditional teachings that kind of perpetuate that myth. So, I've kind of, when I speak about it, when I work with people one-to-one or in groups, I find that, like I just said, the ongoing vigilance to what is already open, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more, but what's involved in that, which is why I call it falling open, because the falling is a surrender of the tight grip that ego mind or ego self has in every moment. Yeah, we can see that. We can be vigilant towards it. We become sensitive to it. And in that way, there is a development of that inner sensitivity, an ongoing willingness to surrender that tight grip. Yeah, which is...
And then awakening has sort of taken the place of the old word enlightenment, which is, I think by many people, at least that's how also used to interpret it, is something in the future that can be achieved only by very, very, very special people who have done practices for hundreds of years or lives and so on.
Yes.
And that search, the essence of the search, the very basics of the search is always that there's something that is going to come, and openness sort of cuts right through that. That's what I hear what you're saying.
Yes. Yes. It's like waiting for enlightenment or waiting for awakening is like a small child putting its hand out and waiting for daddy to give it the sweetie or the reward. And that's a kind of almost like a religious kind of myth that we've inherited that's infiltrated spirituality, and it operates unconsciously, and so this is cutting through it. What I'm saying is that your essential nature as openness, the discovery of that, the knowing of that, the residing in that, the living from that is available to you in the everyday experience when you turn your attention to it, when you turn your allegiance towards it. And that requires a sensitivity towards where the if you like, the inner fist is clenched. And I describe that in the book.
Yes,
my discourses are about the tight fist of shoulds and shouldn'ts, and running into the future with hope and running away from the past with fear. All of these create an inner clenched. And when I speak about this, I just found that people recognize it in themselves.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that is the invitation to openness. To welcome everything home means that whatever you're experiencing, to notice that there is resistance, rejection, denial, especially when there are powerful emotions or intense emotions or difficult emotions or feelings that we might label as dark or menacing or threatening or overwhelming. There's an inner resistance. So this inner fist that I talk about, that's operating then. It's like this. And then there is a denial, a repression, a turning away, a kind of a numbing out sometimes. And so noticing that, we have the opportunity to surrender, just simply surrender the tight fist. So to have the attitude of welcoming everything means that every energy, every emotion, every feeling, every cloud, every experience that you have that you might label as wrong or bad or unspiritual or
negative
or too much to handle, can come home, because everything yearns to come home to love in you. It softens and it has the opportunity to dissolve. I always say that feelings can't kill you. The suppression of feelings does. And so, this attitude, if you like, or this willingness. First of all, we need to understand what's going on here. So I unpack that a little bit in the book. And when we understand that, then there can be a willingness to accept that this is not dangerous. In fact, the opposite. This is love calling itself home. And this is part of awakening. Unless we can end the resistance to everything, Yeah, we can't awaken out of the dream self, out of the ego self, out of the self-construct of me that has to protect myself. So this is part of the awakening. It's the invitation to surrender all resistance. And with that, we come to a place of tenderness. It's a tenderness towards our experience. It ends the game of duality, because that's what duality is.
Yeah.
Duality is the division that we make within ourselves, that, in categorizing this experience is good, that experience is bad, this experience is welcome or worthy, and this experience is unwelcome and unworthy. Yeah, there's often this mistake about duality, that it's to do with things in the world, and when we transcend to duality or wake up out of duality, that somehow all things in the world will become one. Well, this is
Or
nonsense. Not
positive or
nonsense.
rosy.
Yeah, there still continue to be things. Yeah, we live in a 3D reality on that level, and we need to be able to operate that, operate within that, and navigate within that. So things will continue to be things. But what happens is that the duality within us comes to an end. Because initially it does feel like falling. It's a falling into the unknown. That's what openness is. It's meeting life, this experience, this moment, from a place that is not knowing. Yeah, the conventional or the unconscious paradigm is that we come to this experience with a kind of knowing. I know how it's going to turn out. I know what I want it to be like. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. There's a kind of constant running into the future. And that's what we might call control, or we come with a narrative, a position, a stance, a perspective, an opinion. And this is the invitation to meet life in the unknown. So it feels like a falling initially. I mean, it's not. These are metaphors. It's kind of, you're falling into the groundless ground of being. The ego likes to have a position to stand on. It likes to know where it stands.
Yeah.
It likes to know that it's going to be safe, it's going to be strong, it's going to be, whatever its structure is. But this is kind of living life without the ground of knowing. Now, this sounds like, it's not ignorance, it's not stupidity. It actually opens up a whole wealth of intelligence that doesn't come from the knowing mind.